Chapter 1. The Love for Beans. Ben, a tall, affable man with twinkling eyes, was as ordinary as they come. He held a regular job at a nondescript office, drove a car that was more practical than fancy, and lived alone in a modest two-bedroom house. Yet, there was one thing that set Ben apart from others: his deep, abiding love for coffee. It wasn't just about the caffeine kick or the habitual morning ritual. No, Ben's love affair with coffee started much earlier, rooted in childhood memories. He remembered his grandmother brewing a pot of coffee each morning, the smell wafting through the house and waking everyone up. This aromatic introduction to coffee fascinated young Ben, sparking a curiosity that stayed with him. Years later, as a young adult, Ben decided to replicate that magic. Armed with nothing but a rudimentary coffee machine and a bag of store-bought coffee beans, he attempted to brew his first cup. He knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but he was eager to try. That day was marked in Ben's memory as a momentous one. Pouring the water, measuring the beans, and pressing the button on his machine, he waited with bated breath. When the machine finally sputtered and spat out the last few drops of coffee, he cautiously took a sip. It was bitter, slightly burnt, and lacked the depth of flavor he was expecting. Yet, for Ben, this was the start of something special. He realized that coffee wasn't just a drink. It was an experience, a science, and an art. This wasn't just a regular cup of coffee. It was a cup of curiosity, a cup of commitment, a cup that sparked an incredible journey. Determined, Ben started reading and researching. He discovered that coffee beans were as varied as the regions they came from. He learned that brewing methods could drastically alter the flavor profiles of the coffee, and he realized that the coffee he drank was just the tip of the iceberg. His simple, modest love for coffee began to deepen into something more profound. It was like a silent promise to himself, a promise to master the art of brewing the perfect cup of coffee. The taste of that first homemade cup lingered in Ben's memory, a powerful reminder of the journey he embarked on, a journey into the world of coffee. The first cup of coffee wasn't perfect, but it was his, and it was the beginning of Ben's love affair with coffee. It was the stepping stone to a path that would take him places, meet people, and experience life in a way he'd never imagined. And it all started with a simple, ordinary man brewing an extraordinary cup of coffee. The first cup was just the beginning. Little did Ben know that this journey was going to be as rich, deep, and varied as the flavors in a cup of coffee. It all started here with a love for beans and a passion sparked by the first cup, and it was only going to get better. After that inaugural cup of coffee, Ben's curiosity was piqued. What was it about this seemingly simple beverage that had captured the hearts of so many people worldwide? There had to be more to coffee than the unimpressive brew he had created with his basic coffee machine and supermarket coffee beans. He embarked on a journey to uncover the hidden flavors of coffee. He learned that there were two primary types of coffee beans used in commercial coffee production: Arabica and Robusta. Arabica was often described as having a smoother and sweeter taste with hints of fruit and berries, while Robusta had a stronger, harsher taste with a grain-like overtone and nutty aftertaste. To begin experimenting, Ben bought small quantities of different beans. Each weekend, he would pick a different variety and spend his day grinding the beans, brewing coffee, and then sitting in his armchair, notebook in hand, jotting down the different flavors he could discern. At first, it was challenging. He struggled to distinguish the subtle undertones and flavor profiles that his research had told him were present. But Ben was nothing if not persistent. With time, his palate became more refined. He could now differentiate the bright, berry-like acidity of an Ethiopian Arabica from the bold, chocolatey undertones of a Brazilian one. In his quest to discover the hidden flavors of coffee, Ben also learned about different brewing methods. From French press to pour over, espresso to cold brew, each method offered a unique way to extract flavors from the coffee beans. Ben was amazed at how the same bean could produce such wildly different cups of coffee just by changing the brewing method. For example, he found that using a French press allowed for a fuller-bodied brew, emphasizing the coffee's deeper, earthier tones. On the other hand, pour-over brewing highlighted the coffee's more delicate, nuanced flavors, accentuating its acidity. His coffee machine was soon accompanied by a variety of other brewing apparatus. His kitchen began to resemble a coffee laboratory, a testament to his explorations and discoveries in the world of coffee. Every new bean, every brewing method, every cup of coffee was a chance for Ben to learn and experience something new. The world of coffee was far more complex and captivating than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just about quenching his thirst or finding the energy to start his day. It was about exploring a universe of flavors hidden in every tiny coffee bean. This journey into the realm of coffee, into its hidden flavors, had only just begun, and with each sip, Ben fell more and more in love with the dark, enchanting beverage. He was no longer just a man who loved coffee. He was becoming a coffee connoisseur, one cup at a time. Chapter 2. The Journey Begins. Armed with an enriching understanding of coffee varieties and brewing methods, Ben felt it was time to take his passion for coffee a step further. The lure of the source, the very place where it all begins, was too strong to resist. He decided to embark on a journey that would take him to coffee plantations and help him understand the very roots of the beverage he loved so much. His first destination was Costa Rica, a country renowned for its high-quality Arabica coffee. As his plane descended, the sight of lush green coffee plantations stretching as far as the eye could see was an awe-inspiring sight. Upon landing, the rich aroma of coffee in the air made Ben's heart race with anticipation. He had arranged to stay at a small family-run coffee plantation, keen on observing and learning about the cultivation process from those who had been involved in it for generations. From the very first day, Ben was up at the break of dawn, eager to accompany the farmers to the fields. He learned how the Arabica coffee plant, a beautiful shrub with glossy, dark green leaves, produced cherries that housed the precious coffee beans. He was astonished by the amount of hard work that went into coffee cultivation. The trees required constant care and attention, from ensuring that they got enough sunlight and water to protecting them from diseases and pests. Ben observed the meticulous process of hand-picking the coffee cherries, ensuring only the ripe ones were chosen. He learned how the coffee cherries were then processed to extract the beans, either through the wet method, where the fruit covering the beans was removed before they were dried, or the dry method, where the cherries were dried first, and the beans were then extracted. The amount of time, effort, and care that went into each step was eye-opening. It gave Ben a whole new level of appreciation for his morning brew, knowing now the journey each bean took from the tree to his cup. During his stay, he got his hands dirty, helping the farmers, picking the coffee cherries, and understanding the land. He felt a deeper connection with coffee, appreciating not only the beverage itself, but also the process and people involved in bringing it to life. This was just the beginning of Ben's coffee trail. Each plantation, each country, each type of coffee had something new to teach, and Ben was an eager student. His understanding and appreciation for coffee was growing, as was his love for it. The adventure had just begun, and already, Ben could see that this journey was going to transform his relationship with coffee. Little did he know then just how deep this trail would lead him and how much more there was to learn and discover. For Ben, this was the start of a fascinating adventure, an exploration that was about much more than coffee. It was a journey of discovery, connection, and a deepening passion. After spending a few days learning about coffee cultivation, Ben started focusing on the people behind the process, the coffee farmers. He was eager to hear their stories, gain insights into their lives, and understand their relationship with coffee. His host, Carlos, was an elderly man with a face weathered by years of hard work under the Costa Rican sun. Carlos came from a long line of coffee farmers, the land and its coffee trees handed down through generations. He shared tales of his ancestors, stories of bountiful harvests, and the challenges they faced. His eyes would light up as he spoke about the farm with an undeniable passion that was truly inspiring to Ben. Ben met other farmers too, all with their unique stories, but united by their deep love and respect for the coffee they cultivated. He met Anna, a young woman who had taken over her father's farm after his passing, and was working tirelessly to keep his legacy alive. Then there was George, a middle-aged farmer with an infectious smile, who treated each of his coffee trees like his children, nurturing them and tending to them with utmost care. Every conversation, every shared meal, every shared laugh brought Ben closer to the coffee community. He began to understand the hardships these farmers endured, from unpredictable weather conditions to the fluctuating prices in the international market. He saw their resilience, their unwavering dedication, and their passion for coffee. Each farmer had their unique approach to coffee cultivation, their tips and tricks passed down through generations, and their unwritten rules. They shared their knowledge with Ben, teaching him more about coffee than any book or website ever could. He learned about different types of soil and their impact on the coffee flavor, the best time for picking the cherries, and how each tree was a lifelong commitment. But more than anything, Ben was deeply moved by the strong sense of community among the farmers. They helped each other during the harvest season, shared resources and knowledge, and celebrated their victories together. It was a community bound by a shared love for coffee. These encounters gave Ben a new perspective on coffee. Every sip was now a testament to the hard work and dedication of these farmers. Every brew was a nod to their perseverance, passion, and the tireless love they poured into their work. It made his morning cup of coffee taste even better, knowing the stories, the faces, and the hands that made it possible. From being a simple consumer of coffee, Ben had become a part of its story. He had made connections that enriched his understanding of the beverage, and he had gained insights that would forever change his relationship with coffee. His journey had truly begun, and he was excited about the roads that lay ahead. Chapter 3: The Art of Brewing. Upon returning home, Ben felt a renewed sense of enthusiasm. His journey had deepened his understanding of coffee, the cultivation process, and the people behind it. But his curiosity was far from satiated. Now he wanted to explore the next phase in the coffee journey: brewing. Brewing coffee is an art, an alchemy of precise measurements, exact temperatures, and keen observation. And it was this art that Ben wanted to master. Armed with a variety of coffee beans from his travels, he set about transforming his kitchen into a home brewer's paradise, equipped with an array of brewing apparatuses: the French press, pour-over drippers, an espresso machine, an AeroPress, and even a siphon brewer. He began with the French press, a simple yet versatile brewing method. He learned that the key was to use coarse ground coffee and let it steep in hot water for precisely 4 minutes before pressing the plunger down. The result was a bold, full-bodied cup of coffee, the nuances of the coffee bean flavors shining through beautifully. Next, he experimented with the pour-over method, which involved pouring hot water over coffee grounds in a paper filter. The water would then drip slowly, extracting the coffee's flavors and resulting in a clean, light-bodied brew. The technique required patience and precision, from the right water temperature to the slow and consistent pour. The AeroPress was an interesting device, small and plastic, yet capable of producing a smooth, strong, and flavorful coffee. By pressing water through the coffee grounds under high pressure, it created a coffee that was somewhere between a drip brew and an espresso. The espresso machine was a beast of its own, capable of producing the powerful concentrated brew that was the base for many coffee shop favorites. Learning to pull the perfect espresso shot was challenging, but Ben was determined. The siphon brewer, with its glass globes and Bunsen burner, looked more like a chemistry set than a coffee maker. It created coffee using two chambers where vapor pressure and vacuum produced a delicate, tea-like coffee. Each brewing technique brought out different qualities of the coffee. The same bean could taste surprisingly different depending on how it was brewed. It was like discovering the coffee all over again. Days turned into weeks, and Ben found himself absorbed in the world of brewing. Each day brought a new experiment, a new discovery. His earlier notions of brewing being a mere step in the coffee-making process were replaced with a deep appreciation for the art it truly was. The art of brewing was much more than creating a beverage. It was a ritual, a meditation, a daily adventure that let him explore different facets of the coffee he so loved. His journey into the world of coffee had brought him here, and he couldn't wait to delve deeper. After weeks of experimenting with different brewing methods, Ben was closing in on the elusive goal, brewing the perfect cup of coffee. Each brewing technique had its unique strengths, but there were countless variables in each method that could drastically change the taste of the final brew. The grind size, water temperature, brewing time, and even the water-to-coffee ratio all played a part in the final product. He learned that the grind size needed to be adjusted based on the brewing method, coarse for French press, medium for drip coffee, and fine for espresso. The water temperature, too, could greatly affect the extraction of flavors, with slightly off-boiling water being generally optimal. Over time, Ben's brewing rituals grew more precise. He used a kitchen scale to measure the coffee and water, ensuring the right ratio. He bought a thermometer to check the water temperature. He even started grinding his beans right before brewing, having learned that this could significantly enhance the freshness and flavors of the coffee. The process was fraught with trials and errors. There were days when the coffee was too bitter, indicating over-extraction, and days when it was too sour, a sign of under-extraction. There were times when the grind was too fine or too coarse for the brewing method, resulting in a subpar cup of coffee. But with each imperfect cup, Ben learned something new. He refined his technique, adjusted his measurements, and improved his skill. And one day, after many attempts, it happened. Ben had chosen a Costa Rican Arabica for the day. He ground the beans to a medium consistency, heated the water to just off boiling point, and used his pour-over dripper. He poured the water in a slow, steady spiral, letting it drip through the coffee grounds. As he took the first sip, his eyes lit up. It was robust yet smooth, with the distinct fruity notes of the Costa Rican Arabica shining through. The balance was perfect. It was neither too bitter nor too sour. It was, in essence, the perfect cup of coffee. That moment was one of pure joy and accomplishment for Ben. The countless hours spent learning, experimenting, and tweaking had paid off. He had crafted a cup of coffee that was a true testament to the journey the beans had taken from the Costa Rican plantation to his kitchen. But even as he savored his perfect cup of coffee, Ben knew that this was not the end. It was another milestone in his ongoing journey with coffee, another step towards deepening his understanding of this fascinating beverage. After all, the art of brewing was not just about perfecting a cup, but also about cherishing the process that led to it. And Ben was more than ready to continue his exploration. Chapter 4: Coffee Connections. With his newfound knowledge and brewing skills, Ben felt a yearning to share his love for coffee with others. He started frequenting local coffee shops, joining coffee tasting events, and even hosting small coffee get-togethers at his house. It wasn't long before Ben found himself a part of the vibrant local coffee community. It was a diverse group made up of coffee lovers from all walks of life. There were baristas who worked in the city's bustling coffee shops, homebrewers who loved experimenting with different beans and brewing methods, and even casual coffee drinkers who were just beginning to explore the world of coffee. Ben made friends with individuals who shared his passion for coffee. There was Lucy, a barista who could make the most intricate latte art Ben had ever seen. She taught Ben the subtleties of steaming milk to the perfect temperature and consistency. Then there was Sam, a home brewer like himself, who loved discussing and debating the merits of different brewing methods. And then there were people like Olivia, who knew little about brewing, but loved the taste of a well-made cup of coffee. Ben took great pleasure in introducing Olivia and others to different coffee varieties and brewing techniques, sharing his knowledge and witnessing their own journeys into the world of coffee. Over steaming cups of coffee, friendships were formed. Ben and his friends would spend hours talking about everything from the nuances of Ethiopian and Colombian coffee to the impact of soil and climate on the coffee's flavor. Coffee became the common language they all spoke, the bond that brought them together. Coffee meetings became a cherished part of Ben's routine. He looked forward to these gatherings, the deep conversations, the shared laughter, and the mutual love for coffee. He realized that coffee was not just a beverage, but also a medium of connection. It brought people together, fostering friendships and creating a sense of community. The connection and camaraderie Ben found in the coffee community was more than he had ever anticipated. These relationships enriched his coffee journey, providing not just shared knowledge and experiences, but also lifelong friendships. Through coffee, Ben had not only found a passion, but also a family. As weeks turned into months, the bonds that Ben had formed over shared cups of coffee started to deepen. He had started out wanting to share his love for coffee, but he found much more than he had anticipated: genuine friendships, enriched by shared interests and strengthened over time. The conversations over coffee soon branched out beyond just brewing techniques and bean varieties. Lucy started sharing her dream of opening her own coffee shop one day. Sam often spoke about his family and his aspiration to turn his homebrewing hobby into a full-time profession. Olivia, the casual coffee drinker, started showing a keen interest in understanding the finer aspects of coffee and often sought Ben's advice. Ben found himself opening up too. He shared his journey, his passion for coffee, and how it had changed his life. He found comfort in their understanding and shared enthusiasm. He found motivation in their dreams and aspirations. He found joy in their companionship. Ben and his friends started spending more time together. Coffee tasting sessions turned into movie nights, casual meetups turned into weekend barbecues. Coffee had brought them together, and their shared passion had paved the way for deep, meaningful friendships. One memorable day, during a coffee meetup at Ben's house, Sam suggested they start a coffee club. The idea was welcomed with enthusiastic nods and bright smiles. They decided to meet regularly, try new coffee varieties, experiment with brewing techniques, and learn from each other. They named it the Brew Crew. This coffee club was a testament to the bonds they had formed. It was a symbol of their friendship, their shared love for coffee, and the sense of community they had created together. Ben looked at his friends, each engrossed in lively conversation, their faces lit up with passion, and he felt a sense of contentment. His journey into the world of coffee had brought him knowledge, experiences, and skills. But most importantly, it had brought him closer to a group of people who were as passionate about coffee as he was. In his friends, he had found companions for his coffee journey, and in coffee, he had found the perfect medium to brew strong, lasting bonds. As he poured another round of coffee for everyone, he couldn't help but smile. His journey with coffee was far from over, and he was excited about the shared adventures that lay ahead. Chapter 5. From Consumer to Creator. Months had passed since Ben had first started his journey into the world of coffee. He had grown from a casual coffee drinker to a home brewer, a coffee connoisseur, and an integral part of a vibrant coffee-loving community. His passion for coffee had taken him on an incredible journey, and he found himself contemplating the next step. One evening, while hosting a meeting for the Brew Crew, Ben found himself looking around at his friends. Their faces were illuminated by the warm light, their laughter filled the room, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air. A thought, a dream began to take shape in his mind. What if he could do this every day? What if he could turn his passion for coffee into his profession? Could he create a place where others could experience the same joy, connection, and discovery that he had experienced on his coffee journey? Encouraged by his friends and driven by his passion, Ben decided to start his own coffee shop. He wanted to create a space that welcomed everyone, from seasoned coffee connoisseurs to beginners just starting their coffee journey. Ben spent countless hours planning and preparing. He attended business workshops, met with local roasters, and visited numerous coffee shops to gather ideas. He meticulously planned the layout of his shop, the type of coffee he would serve, and the food he would offer. He wanted his coffee shop to reflect his coffee journey. The walls would be adorned with photographs from his visits to the coffee plantations, and the menu would feature coffees made with different brewing methods. He decided to source his beans directly from the farmers he had met during his travels, ensuring quality while supporting the farmers and their hard work. He also planned to have coffee tastings and brewing classes, wanting to create a community around his coffee shop, just like the one he had found with his friends. He wished for his coffee shop to be more than just a place to grab a cup of coffee. It would be a hub for coffee lovers, a place of connection and learning, a place that resonated with his coffee journey. This journey, from being a simple consumer to becoming a creator, was both exhilarating and terrifying. But Ben was ready. His passion for coffee had brought him this far, and he was determined to see his dream come to life. From the bean to the business, Ben's coffee journey had taken a new, exciting turn. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to embrace the challenges, driven by his love for coffee and the desire to share it with others. After months of hard work, planning, and preparation, the day Ben had been eagerly waiting for had finally arrived, the grand opening of his coffee shop, aptly named The Coffee Journey. He had chosen a cozy spot in the heart of the city, with large windows that let in plenty of natural light. Inside, the decor was a reflection of Ben's journey with coffee. Photographs from his travels adorned the walls, a shelf displayed various coffee brewing apparatus, and a large chalkboard menu highlighted the different beans and brewing methods on offer. Early in the morning, Before the doors officially opened, Ben took a moment to stand in the quiet, empty shop. His heart was filled with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. He looked around at what his dream and hard work had manifested, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. As the doors opened, a few early birds from the neighborhood trickled in, drawn by the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Ben greeted each customer with a warm smile, introducing them to the different types of coffee and sharing snippets of his journey. Word spread throughout the day. Friends from the brew crew showed up to support, adding to the atmosphere with their laughter and camaraderie. Regulars from the local coffee community dropped by, curious and eager to taste Ben's coffee. Even passers-by couldn't resist the inviting ambience and the promise of a good cup of coffee. Each compliment, each word of appreciation filled Ben's heart with joy. He had wanted to share his passion for coffee, and seeing his customers enjoy the fruit of his labor was immensely satisfying. His coffee shop was more than just a business. It was an extension of his love for coffee, a physical manifestation of his journey, and a way to share his passion with others. Seeing it welcomed by others, seeing the connections being formed over shared cups of coffee, was more rewarding than he had ever imagined. As the day came to an end, Ben stood at the counter, a content smile on his face. The coffee shop was buzzing with conversation and laughter. The air was rich with the aroma of coffee, and Ben was at the heart of it all, serving, sharing, and connecting. The grand opening of the coffee journey was a resounding success, exceeding all of Ben's expectations. But more importantly, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in his coffee journey, a chapter where his passion became his profession, where he transitioned from a consumer to a creator, and where every cup of coffee served was a story shared. The journey was far from over. It was just brewing to its full potential. Chapter 6. Savoring Success. In the weeks and months following the grand opening, the coffee journey continued to flourish. Word about the cozy coffee shop, with its variety of beans and brewing methods, spread, drawing coffee enthusiasts from all corners of the city. Ben, with his welcoming smile and genuine passion for coffee, became a familiar face to many. He took pride in getting to know his regular customers, learning their names, their preferred orders, and even their stories. He treated every individual who walked through his doors not just as a customer, but as a fellow coffee lover and a friend. The coffee journey quickly became more than just a coffee shop. It was a community hub, a gathering place for people from all walks of life. Students frequented the shop for a comforting cup of coffee while studying. Friends met up to catch up over their favorite brews, and even families dropped by to enjoy the welcoming atmosphere and delicious coffee. Moreover, the coffee journey became a platform for learning and sharing about coffee. Ben regularly hosted coffee tasting sessions and brewing workshops, sharing his knowledge and passion with others. Attendees varied from experienced homebrewers to people who were just beginning to explore the world of coffee. The shop buzzed with lively discussions and shared experiences, fostering a vibrant community of coffee lovers. The coffee shop also became a place where connections were made and relationships were formed. Regular customers became friends, sharing conversations and moments over shared cups of coffee. The communal tables encouraged interaction, and it was not uncommon to see strangers striking up conversations about their coffee preferences. For Ben, this was the most gratifying part of his journey. The idea that his coffee shop could bring people together, fostering friendships and creating a community, was immensely satisfying. He realized that the success of the coffee journey was not just about serving great coffee, but about creating a space where people could connect, learn, and celebrate their love for coffee together. From the seed of an idea to a thriving coffee shop, Ben's journey had been incredible. The coffee journey was no longer just a dream or a business. It was a community, a home for coffee lovers, and this was just the beginning. The success of the coffee shop was sweet, but the community it was brewing was even more rewarding. Ben savored this success, knowing he had created something truly special. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Ben found himself pausing to reflect on his coffee journey. What had started as a fascination with a simple beverage had turned into a life-changing passion, leading him to places he never imagined and introducing him to people who had become a part of his life. He thought about his first, somewhat disappointing brew at home, the excitement of his initial experiments with different beans and brewing methods, and the thrill of his travels to coffee plantations. He recalled the hard work of the farmers, the warm camaraderie of the coffee community, and the joy of opening his own coffee shop. With every cup of coffee he served, every smile he shared, and every conversation he had, he realized that his love for coffee had grown beyond the beverage itself. It was about the journey, the people, and the connections he had made along the way. While his quest for the perfect brew had sparked this journey, he understood now that the true joy of coffee lay not just in that perfect cup, but in the shared experiences, stories, and friendships it fostered. It was about the community that came together over a mutual love for coffee, the shared passion, and the shared joy. The satisfaction of making a perfect cup of coffee was indeed wonderful, but it was the ability to share it with others, to see their faces light up with that first sip, to hear their stories, and share a part of their lives that made it truly rewarding. Looking around his bustling coffee shop, seeing the familiar faces of his customers, hearing the laughter, and the animated discussions about coffee, Ben couldn't help but smile. This was his perfect brew, a harmonious blend of his passion for coffee, his love for people, and his desire to share and connect. As he reflected on his journey, Ben realized that he had not only found a deep love for coffee, but had also discovered a greater purpose. He had created a space that brought people together, fostered a community, and spread the joy of coffee. His journey had been about much more than finding the perfect brew. It had been about sharing his passion, connecting with people, and creating a space that celebrated the love for coffee. Savoring his success, he knew this was just the beginning. There were more beans to taste, more brewing techniques to master, more stories to share, and more connections to make. His coffee journey was far from over, and he was excited about the many cups, conversations, and connections that lay ahead. The perfect brew was not a destination, but a journey, a beautiful, enriching coffee journey.